Once upon a time, in an age long forgotten, when magic and mystery hung in the air like morning mist, there existed a valley called Moonlight Valley. They called it so because at night, the silver glow of the moon spilled over its flowers and waterfalls, making it seem as if the heavens themselves had descended to earth. In this valley lay a small kingdom named New Riston. The people of New Riston were simple but happy. Their homes were made of mud and wood. Their golden fields swayed with wheat and barley, and laughter echoed through their villages. But in recent years, the valley's charm had begun to fade. The crops wilted, the springs dried up, and shadows of worry deepened on the faces of the people. In the grand palace of New Riston lived Princess Amina, a girl with starlight in her eyes and an ocean of courage in her heart. She was not only beautiful, with her long dark hair and fierce gaze, but she was also skilled with a sword and deeply fond of ancient tales. Often, she would climb to the top of the palace tower and gaze over the valley, wondering how she might bring life back to her fading land. One night, as she lay asleep in her room, she had a strange and vivid dream. She saw a glowing stone resting deep inside a cave in the heart of the forest. A voice echoed in the dream, whispering, "Samina, this treasure can save your valley, but to reach it, you must summon the deepest courage within your heart." When Samina awoke at dawn, her heart was restless. Without delay, she went to her father, King Adil, and told him of her dream. The king, worried, said, "My daughter, that forest is dangerous. The giant rock dwells there, trapping all who dare enter with his deadly trials. You cannot go." But Samina was determined. She looked into her father's eyes and said, "Father, if this treasure can save our valley, then I am ready to face any danger." That very evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Samina slipped quietly through the palace's back gate and made her way to a small village nearby. There, in a bamboo hut, lived Baba Zaid, an old man said to know all the secrets of the forest. His long white beard brushed the ground, and his words carried the weight of forgotten magic. Samina told him about her dream. Baba Zaid took a deep breath and said, "Ah, Princess, the treasure you seek is the magical stone, the heart of Moonlight Valley itself. But to reach it, you must pass through the 3 trials of Raksh: the trial of wisdom, the trial of courage, and the trial of sacrifice. Are you ready?" Samina nodded firmly. "I am ready." Baba Zaid handed her an old map, drawn on a cloth worn thin with age. The map showed the forest's winding paths, waterfalls, and caves. He warned, "This map will guide you, but remember, the forest will test your heart." The next morning, as a soft mist blanketed Moonlight Valley, Samina wrapped a simple cloak around herself, strapped her sword to her side, and set off toward the forest. As she reached the forest's edge, a strange stillness surrounded her. The air smelled of wildflowers, but a faint chill crept through the trees. Suddenly, she saw a shimmering figure ahead, a white deer, its eyes gleaming like pearls. The deer looked at her and gently bowed its head as if to say, "Follow me." Samina smiled softly and whispered, "I will call you Chani." And with that, she stepped forward, following the glowing deer into the heart of the unknown. Deep within the forest, where sunlight filtered through the dense canopy and scattered across the ground like a shimmering lake, Princess Samina followed the glowing white deer, Chani. There was a strange grace in the deer's steps, as if it knew every secret of the forest. Samina kept her sword tightly gripped, feeling uneasy in the thick silence. Sometimes she heard birdsong echoing through the trees, and sometimes a faint crack of a distant branch. She knew this journey would not be easy. Suddenly, Chani stopped and lifted its head, its pearl-like eyes fixed on a narrow path winding through thick undergrowth. Samina pulled out the old map Baba Zaid had given her. On the map, there was a marked spot labeled, "The Trap of Poison Vines." Her heart thudded in her chest. She looked at Chani, who gently moved forward and paused beside a large stone. On the stone was carved a riddle. "I move without feet. I flow without a body. I touch everyone, yet no one can hold me. What am I?" Samina took a deep breath, sinking into thought. She remembered a story her mother used to tell when she was little, sitting by the flowing streams watching the water dance. "Air," she said aloud. "Air moves without feet, flows without a body. touches all, yet cannot be held. As soon as she spoke the word, the poison vines recoiled, pulling away and clearing the path. Chani let out a soft sound, almost as if it were pleased of her cleverness. Together, they moved forward. The path led to a deep ravine where an old stone bridge stretched across, and beyond it, a waterfall thundered down, its sound echoing through the forest. But right in the middle of the bridge stood a strange figure, a massive bird, its wings shimmering like silver and flames flickering from its beak. "What is that?" Samina whispered to herself. Chani lowered its antlers and scraped the ground nervously, signaling danger. Suddenly, the bird spoke. "Traveler, I am the Fire Falcon, guardian of this bridge. If you wish to cross, you must face my second trial." Samina drew her sword, but the Fire Falcon spread its vast wings and said, "Your sword is useless here. This is a test of courage. Below the bridge lies a venomous pit, crawling with deadly snakes. You must cross, but with each step, my flames will strike. If you falter or retreat, you will fall." Samina glanced down into the dark abyss, where the hiss of serpents drifted upward. Her heart pounded wildly, but she remembered her mother's words. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite fear. She looked at Chani, who seemed to stand proudly by her side. "I'm ready," Samina declared. She stepped onto the bridge. At once, the Fire Falcon swooped and hurled a jet of flame toward her. Samina threw her cloak forward, shielding herself, and pressed on, step by step, keeping her balance. Another flame shot over her head, and another scorched the ground near her feet. The bridge shook. The snakes below hissed louder, but Samina fixed her gaze on the falcon, determined to reach the other side. On the final step, the Fire Falcon vanished. In its place, a small silver feather lay on the ground. Samina picked it up and tucked it safely into her pocket. Chani nuzzled her shoulder, as if proud of her triumph. This was only the beginning, Samina whispered to herself. She knew the trials of the giant rocks were not yet over. According to the map, the next path led to a cave, where the third and final challenge awaited. As they moved on, the forest grew darker, the trees twisting together like clasped hands, and the air filled with a strange whispering. When they reached the cave entrance, Samina saw a large stone with another carved riddle. "I am what everyone has, but when given away, I grow less. I live in every heart, and I am worth more than gold. What am I?" Samina pondered. She remembered her father's words, spoken long ago. Some things grow less when given, but their value is eternal. "Time," she whispered. "Time is what we all have, but when we give it, we have less. It lives in every heart, and its worth is beyond measure." The stone trembled, and the cave's mouth slowly opened. Inside it was pitch black, but Chani's glowing eyes lit the way. They stepped inside. Strange carvings decorated the cave walls. Images of ancient warriors, magical creatures, and a great stone at the center. Standing upon it was a massive giant, his eyes glowing red, his body as hard and rough as rock. This was Raksh, the guardian of the treasure. "Princess," his voice boomed through the cave, "you have passed 2 of my trials, wisdom and courage. But now comes the final test, the hardest of all, sacrifice. If you wish to claim the treasure that will save Moonlight Valley, you must surrender that which you hold most dear." Samina's heart clenched. What was her most precious possession? Her sword? Her royal title? Or was it something deeper? Raksh rumbled. "You have until dawn to decide. Tomorrow, your answer will determine whether you leave with the treasure or whether this cave becomes your tomb." In the cold shadows of the cave, where the only guide was a faint glow of moonlight, Princess Samina stood facing the great demon Raksh. His red eyes glared at her, and his deep voice still echoed off the stone walls. "You must give up what is dearest to you." Samina's heart pounded in her chest. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the silver feather left behind by the Fire Falcon. Then she glanced at the sword by her side, an heirloom passed down from her ancestors. Were these her most precious possessions? Or perhaps it was a royal crown, the symbol of her inheritance as a future queen of New Riston? Yet deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "The sacrifice will be greater than that." Suddenly, Moonlight, the magical stag, stepped close, rested his head gently against her hand. His warm breath gave her a sliver of comfort. Samina sat down on the cold stone floor, her mind swirling with memories. Her mother's bedtime stories, her father's words of wisdom, and the smiling faces of her people, now clouded with fear and hardship. She knew that without the treasure, New Ristan's prosperity would vanish forever. Outside, the night deepened. Only the soft rustle of wind and the chorus of crickets could be heard beyond the cave. Samina closed her eyes and whispered to her own heart, "What is truly my most precious thing?" Suddenly, realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. Her most precious thing was her freedom, the freedom to choose, to lead, to live by her own will. If she gave up her royal title, she would no longer be New Ristan's princess. But was that sacrifice enough? As the first light of dawn broke through the cave's entrance, the demon rock spoke again. "Princess, have you decided?" Samina took a deep breath. "Yes," she said, "I give up my royal title. I will no longer be princess of New Ristan, but my people need this treasure more than they need me on a throne." A strange shimmer flickered in Raksha's eyes. He raised his giant hand, and on the stone altar, a glowing gem appeared. It was the magical stone that old Babazad had spoken of, the one whose light could restore the valley. Its brilliance filled the cave, turning the darkness into dazzling day. But Raksh raised a clawed finger. "Wait, princess. The sacrifice is not yet complete. To carry this stone back, you must leave behind your closest companion." Samina turned, her breath catching in her throat. Moonlight, the stag, had stepped forward, pressing his head once again into her palm. Her heart cracked. Moonlight had been her guide, her friend, her constant source of courage. But in her mind, she saw the faces of her people once more. The laughing children, the hopeful farmers, her father's worried gaze. Samina closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek. "I leave Moonlight behind." Raksh nodded solemnly. He placed his massive hand upon Moonlight, and the stag shimmered into pure light, rising toward the cave's ceiling and vanishing into the stars. Tears blurred Samina's vision as she lifted the stone and stepped out of the cave. Outside, the sky had cleared, and the sun's golden rays turned the valley into a sea of light. When Samina returned to New Ristan, her brother, Prince Farhan, ran to embrace her at the palace gates. "Samina, you came back," he cried. She showed him the glowing stone. "Tell father this will save the valley, but I am no longer princess." King Adil gazed at the radiant gem, awestruck. "My daughter," he said softly, "the sacrifice you made, no princess could have done this. Only a true leader. You will always be our princess, with or without a crown." The king placed a stone atop a tall pillar in the heart of the valley. As its light spread, the fields turned green again, the rivers began to flow, and the smiles returned to the faces of the people. But in Samina's heart, there was still an ache. She could not forget Moonlight. One night, as she sat atop the palace tower, gazing at the stars, she saw a shimmering figure in the sky. It was Moonlight, now transformed into a radiant star, shining above her. Its gentle light wrapped around her heart, bringing her peace. She understood. Moonlight had become part of her sacrifice and would forever watch over her. From that day on, the valley was no longer called New Ristan alone. It became Moonlight Valley. The story of Princess Amina spread from village to village, and travelers from distant lands carried her tale far and wide, telling of the young leader who gave up everything for her people, becoming a legend across the world.